Is editing ARK's INI files to gain a competitive advantage now over? This week, Wildcard dropped a pretty impactful patch for the PvP community, something that was not on anyone's radar as being looked at. For years now, some players in the PvP community would take advantage of the ability to edit INI files on the client side that would allow to remove visual effects on official servers, including foliage, fog, water, and even visual effects from things like plant Z, beer, and mushrooms that would normally obscure your vision. By editing those INI files, it can take your visuals from this to this. However, there are already reports of workarounds, which I'll briefly touch upon in a minute. There would normally be two reasons players would do this, one being the main reason to gain a competitive advantage over others by being able to clearly see and to see hidden bases by removing all obstacles. The second reason is claimed to improve performance, although who's to say that isn't just a fictitious reason to cover up the first reason. INI files are editable game files such as GameUserSettings.ini and Game.ini, amongst others, that contain lines of configs to allow for a much more configurable experience on single player, unofficial and official servers. Very often legitimately used in the community and certainly used for mods. However, with everything that is good, there is always bad. This is where the advantage gaining in PvP comes into play. Wildcard have disabled unintended client-side visual configs. Now, they haven't stated exactly which configs they have disabled. I have seen a lot of questions in the community about does this affect single player and can we not edit INI files anymore? INI file editing still exists. ARK is never going to take that ability away. What they have done is identified the key config lines that are used to remove foliage and other effects that would provide players an advantage over others, as this was never intended for the game. You can see on the screen now where people over the years have shared INI configs and provided other players advice on how to gain an unfair advantage on PvP by exploiting the ability to configure INI files. This particular post over on Reddit 2 years ago even stated the following: disclaimer, editing this file is against the official ARK code of conduct, but don't worry, Wildcard hardly enforce it on this point. And anyway, they have no way to know if you modified this file or not, so you are totally safe to use INI on an official server. Apparently they can do nothing about it, so share it so everyone use it. Well, never say never, because they have done something about it without needing to know who uses it. It has been a long time coming and there is a lot of praise in the community for Wildcard finally doing something about it, whilst at the same time there are a lot of players asking for INI editing to be returned already, likely because they now have to play the game as intended. However, there are reports of workarounds already after only hours since the patch released. This, in my opinion, was to be expected because even in cybercrime, when somebody exploits the vulnerability and it gets patched, they work to find a workaround. It is a very common practice, whether an act is illegal or just against a game's code of conduct like this, and if players want it enough, they will find a way. This has also now pushed players to ask more about Wildcard going further and fixing other exploits and cheating, such as aimbotting and meshing. All I can say at this point is never say never. So what effect will this patch have on the player base? Well, if there's a workaround already, probably not much, but if it gets patched out further for good, we could see a possible drop in the player base, but you could say it could be a healthy drop. On top of the INI patch, the devs went further and added an offensive text filter that will continue to be updated and will target the in-game chat and player names. This has come as a welcome move by many players, as servers, particularly official servers, are often rife with inappropriate language. And ironically, they have also provided INI config lines for unofficial servers to be able to enable or disable this function on their own servers. All of this are some big changes that ARK have made, and it will be interesting to see what impact these changes may have on the game, particularly on official servers going forwards. Let me know what you think of these efforts that Wildcard are making. Survivors, if you don't want to miss out on all the latest ARK news, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.